Hello everyone, it's Joshua here and back with another tutorial, and in this video I'm going to show you how to connect a MIDI keyboard to your Yamaha PSR S770 or any Yamaha PSR S that has a classic MIDI input. So the first thing you're going to need is your classic MIDI cable. Though this is a classic MIDI cable, so nowadays we have the USB versions of this, but this is what they had back in the day. It's still being used now, but it's not very popular. So this end is a MIDI cable and this other end is the same end. So have one cable, and another thing we're going to need is a MIDI keyboard, and I've got my MIDI keyboard right here. I've got my small MIDI keyboard. It's a Behringer U control, and it has the old MIDI, classic MIDI out right there. So it has the MIDI out. If you're going to get a MIDI keyboard and you want to use this MIDI keyboard to connect it to your PSR S770 or 775, make sure it has one of these. So this sort of out. So the first thing you're going to do is take your MIDI cable, one end, doesn't matter which end, that or that, plug it into your MIDI keyboard. And with my MIDI keyboard, I'll take that, plug it in. Once it's in, and I'll take the other end and I'll plug it into my MIDI in of my keyboard. So you have MIDI out and MIDI in. So I take this cable and plugged it into my MIDI in. If you have a MIDI keyboard like mine, it's got like the on button at the back, so you press that on button. So this is powered by batteries. It's got batteries in the back. You can put AA batteries in there, and that's what powers this thing. So it's not powered by a USB, rather it's powered by batteries. So now once it's on, I should see the lights turning on. And now once I'm happy with that, I'm going to take my MIDI keyboard and put it where I want to put it. And as you can hear, it's playing straight away. So as you can hear, I can play from my MIDI. I can play from my MIDI keyboard, or I can play from my actual keyboard. So I have now two keyboards connected. Now to set up my MIDI keyboard, in order to use different voices, I'm going to go to function, press on MIDI, and from MIDI I'm going to press on edit by pressing the 8 down button, and edit. From there I'm going to scroll to receive, because we are receiving MIDI. And there on port 1, which is going to be this keyboard, port 1, channel 1, because there's only one port on there and one MIDI in. So there I'm going to change. I can select, for example, if I want my voice, if I want my right two voices to be on this keyboard, I can go and select part, go and right 2, and from there all the voices on right 2 here will be played on here. So for example, on right 2 we have studio strings, and if I play my MIDI keyboard, as you can hear, it's studio strings. And if I want my right 2 to have, for example, brass, I can select part, select right 2, and then press brass, and then there I'll have on my right 2, which is on my MIDI keyboard, I'll have this voice. And on my right 1, which is the main one, I still gonna get the same. I'm still gonna keep the grand piano, and when I play my keyboard, I get the grand piano. If I play my MIDI keyboard, I get the brass, which is right 2. I can do the same. I can swap them around, and in order for me to have this separate voice, I have to make sure I don't turn that on. If I turn that on, I'll hear both voices on this keyboard, but I turn that off so that I can only hear it from this keyboard, just this one. And also another thing you can do with this MIDI, if I go back to MIDI, edit, receive, I can also select left, so I can use the left voices as well for the MIDI keyboard, or have a bass, or for the accompaniment, or have the style chord, or have the pads. I can have different things, or I can keep it off and you won't be able to hear anything. So that's how it is. So it's a very good trick if you want to play two different voices without having to use the same keyboard. You want a separate keyboard on the side. This is the best way to do it. I reckon it's the cheapest way to do it, in my opinion, because getting another keyboard of this is very expensive. But if you have just a MIDI keyboard with one of these, you can get just a 40 something keys. I believe this is a 61. Sorry, I made a mistake. You can get a 41 keys. You can even get under 41, so just a tiny one, and you can use that just to play riffs and just nice melodies to accompany your songs. So thank you very much everyone for watching. I hope this video was helpful. Please don't forget to subscribe, comment and like, and I'll see you in the next one.